All right, so today we're jumping into a fascinating thought experiment, a real historical showdown that, never actually was. What happens when you take the absolute peak of 16th century naval power and pit it against just one single warship from our time? Well, let's find out.
So, picture the scene. The year is 1588. The English Channel is this brutal, unforgiving stretch of water. Fog just rolls in out of nowhere. The wind is a totally fickle master. And sailing right into this chaos is the Spanish Armada, the biggest, baddest fleet of its time, on a mission from King Philip II to invade England. But something else is out there with them, hiding in that mist. And this right here is the big question. What if a modern guided missile destroyer was just zapped back in time, with one single objective: stop that invasion? It's flying no flags, it moves without wind, and its radar can see straight through the thickest fog. I mean, can one ship really do what an entire English fleet struggled to? And here, you just see the sheer scale of the mismatch. It's almost not fair. On one side, you've got 130 wooden ships, totally dependent on the wind, with cannons that are only really effective up close. And on the other, one steel ship, powered by massive engines, armed with weapons that can hit a target from way over the horizon. It's literally a ghost against a fleet. So when you're facing those kinds of odds, the destroyer's crew can't just charge in, guns blazing. That's a losing game. This isn't about brute force. No, this is a battle of strategy. It's about using technology to systematically take apart an enemy that's way too big to fight head-on. And believe me, they have a very specific plan.
Now this is the crucial part. The destroyer doesn't actually need to sink all 130 ships. That's not the goal. Victory is all about achieving three key things. First, stop the Armada from meeting up with its army on the ground. Second, wreck their command structure by taking out their signal ships. And third, starve the fleet by blowing up their supply vessels. If you can do those three things, the invasion is over.
But, and this is a huge but, the destroyer has to play by its own very strict rules to survive. The most important one, stay out of grappling range. If hundreds of Spanish soldiers manage to board the ship, it is game over. Simple as that. It has to use the night and the fog like a cloak. And maybe most critically, it has to conserve ammo. Every single shell, every missile is absolutely irreplaceable.
And so, the first attack begins under the perfect cover of darkness. The destroyer is running completely silent, no lights, just using its radar to paint this perfect picture of the enemy fleet. This is where the psychological war really begins.
Now, you might think they'd go for the biggest, most powerful galleons first, but nope, that would be a waste. Instead, its radar guides its guns to the Armada's weakest links, the little ships that help steer the whole fleet, and all those vulnerable support vessels. It's attacking from miles away, well beyond the reach of any cannon from the 16th century.
And the weapon they use? Oh, it's just terrifyingly effective. It's called an airburst shell. See, these don't even need to score a direct hit. They explode above the deck, raining down a storm of metal fragments. It's the perfect tool for shredding sails, slicing through rigging, and taking out a ship's rudder. And of course, a ship that can't steer is just a big, floating target. Now just try to put yourself on one of those Spanish ships for a second. It's pure terror. Out of the silent, thick fog, there are these blinding flashes followed by deafening explosions. Metal is literally raining from the sky. Men are dropping to the deck. They're firing their cannons like crazy into the darkness, but there's nothing. They're fighting a phantom.
Okay, so when dawn breaks, the game has to change. Firing from long range in the daylight is risky. It makes the destroyer way easier to spot, maybe even get boxed in. So, it's time to unleash a whole new kind of terror. This time, from the sky.
That's right. The destroyer sends out its eyes in the sky, a helicopter armed with guided rockets. It is the perfect tool for these surgical precision strikes against the Armada's most critical and softest targets, those slow-moving barges carrying all the food, water, and, crucially, the gunpowder.
For the Spanish soldiers on those barges, this is something from another world. First, they hear this strange, hard, chopping sound coming from the heavens. Then, a dark shape just descends out of the fog, firing these streaks of light that detonate their supply boats in massive fireballs. They're firing their muskets into the clouds, but it's completely useless.
So by now, the Armada is bleeding. Badly. Ships are crippled, supplies are on fire, and morale is absolutely shattered. But you know what? They are not broken.
The Spanish commanders, they rally their fleet for one last, desperate push.
So they tighten their formation, pushing their strongest warships right to the front. Their plan is simple, really. It's their only chance. Close the distance. They know that if they can just get close enough to grapple, to get their soldiers on board, their sheer numbers might just win the day. This is it.
The moment the destroyer's radar picks up that charge, it unleashes everything it has. First, the 5-inch gun fires more airburst shells, shredding the sails and rigging of the lead ships. Then, for the very first time, it launches missiles, which slam into the largest galleons. And as a few of the faster ships get dangerously close, the ship's last line of defense, the CIWS Gatling gun, just opens up, spraying their decks and masts with thousands of rounds a minute.
And this is the moment that just highlights the final tragic futility of it all. The Armada's cannons and muskets, they fire back with every last thing they have. But the shots either fall short or they just bounce harmlessly off the destroyer's steel hull. Their courage was immense, no doubt, but their technology was just hopelessly obsolete.
And the result of that final, desperate charge? Zero. Not one. Not a single Spanish ship makes it through that wall of modern firepower to even touch the destroyer. The charge is completely and utterly broken.
With that charge collapsed and its leadership in shambles, the Armada is no longer an invasion force. It's just a collection of terrified survivors. And out of that terror, a new legend is about to be born.
Yeah, the mission is completely forgotten. The captains aren't thinking about linking up with an army anymore. They're only thinking about survival. The entire command structure has been shattered. The only order now is a silent, desperate one. Get home. The Great Armada scatters to the four winds.
The few sailors who do manage to make it back to Spain, well, they tell these impossible stories. They don't talk about an enemy ship. They talk about something supernatural. They call it the Iron Ghost. A ship with no masts and no sails that could move against the wind and literally make thunder fall from a clear sky.
And what's so fascinating is that even on the English shores, the witnesses are just as baffled. They didn't see a savior. They saw the same impossible things. They reported hearing thunder when there was no lightning and seeing this mysterious ghost ship moving with impossible speed straight into the wind.
It's an incredible story of pure technological dominance, and it leaves us with this one final, really tantalizing thought. I mean, this was just one ship against one fleet. What other key moments in history could be completely turned